This Harman Kardon Citation 16 power amplifier got so hot during my initial power up of the amplifier, I thought we might have a fire. I'll take you through the repair and restoration of one of the finest amplifiers from the mid-1970s. I'd like to tell you a little bit about my Harman Kardon Citation 16. I received this from a high-end dealer here locally. He gets trade-ins from time to time, and he has no desire to resell this equipment or keep it. So every now and then I get something from him. So this is where this amplifier came from. It was built in 1976, my particular unit. And I have a Citation 16. Later on in the production run, which went through around 1980, they had a Citation 16A. Being a original 16 has an IC input stage. The later ones, the 16As, had all discrete components. The Citation 16 was produced in New York. So that's kind of cool, right? Made in America kind of stuff. There wasn't a whole lot of equipment being made in America, even in the 70s, right? Most of my stuff and a lot of you guys had Japanese equipment. And a lot of us couldn't afford Macintosh, right? They were around, but they were big bucks. This Citation 16 was rated at 150 watts per channel into 8 ohms, was very conservatively rated at 8 ohms. And its 4 ohm output was outstanding. The input stages of this amplifier all operate in Class A, and the output stages work in Class AB, which was standard for the time for power amplifiers. One thing interesting in this unit, and I'd never seen them before, but this unit contains the RCA output transistors. I just have never seen another piece of equipment with RCA output transistors. The Citation 16 uses 2 completely separate power supplies. Each channel has its own power transformer and its own filter capacitors. So really you've got 2 separate power supplies. They're completely independent from each other, but they sit in the same chassis together. So that's a pretty nice feature on a power amplifier. The Citation 16, I think, is a good looking power amplifier. It has an industrial type design to it. It just looks beefy. It looks like it would be tough. It looks like it would hold up. And it has. 45 years later, and it's still operating. The only thing that's a little bit modern on it, right, you've got LEDs. That was pretty trick in 1976. You know, you think nowadays an LED, what's the big deal? But in 1976, LEDs were state of the art. So it's kind of neat to have those on there, especially from such an early time. Now that I've told you a little bit about my Citation 16, it's time to start that restoration that you know I'm going to do. Well, you're probably wondering about that beginning, about that opening to this video, talking about, I thought I was going to burn the house down. Well, as you guys know, like always, whenever I get a piece of unknown equipment, I take a look at it. Right, I take off that top cover, the bottom cover. I just use my eyes first to see if I see anything. And in this case, like many times, I didn't see anything. So I powered up the Citation 16. There was no issues. I was running it off the full line voltage. And it was just sitting there, and I was sitting here at the test bench. I was on the internet or doing something. And did you guys ever smell, you know, something electrical, something hot? It wasn't smoking, there wasn't fire coming out of it, but I smelled something electrical and something hot. So I got up from my chair and I walked over to the Citation 16, and it has 2 distinct heat sinks, the left and right channel on this unit, and they're both exposed. Well, I put my hand on what they call channel A, which is the left channel. Just felt mildly warm. I put my hand on the channel B, the right channel. I felt like I put my hand on a hot stove. I'm serious. Wow. I've never, ever felt a heat sink that hot. And I have several Class A amplifiers that I think I could keep my coffee warm on. This was incredible. Needless to say, man, I pulled the plug. And usually when that happens, has something to do with the way the amplifier's biased, right? The idle current, it's just too high, right? And this one, man, was it hot. I unplugged it and I had to fix that first, right? You know me, I'm going to go after those electrolytic capacitors. I'm going to get them. But first, I'm going to find out why I could fry a hamburger on the heat sink of this guy. Many times this issue is caused by the variable resistor that is used to adjust the idle current in an amplifier. It's not unusual. These variable resistors over time, again, this amplifier is 45 years old, has a contact point on a wiper, and you adjust this wiper back and forth. And when they're new, they work perfectly, but over time, they open up, they get intermittent, they just don't work well. And because I'm having issues with this one channel, I'll change out the variable resistor on the other side too. And let me just make a note, when I say change them out, and I say parts are available for almost all the parts are available for this amplifier. The issue is you can't call up Harman Kardon and say, go ahead and send me VR1, and they send you the original part. It's not available. So you've got to do a little bit of work to find out what you need to replace that with. What would be a good equivalent variable resistor. And as I said, not just this part, but almost every part in this amplifier is still available. I changed out both the idle current variable resistors, and I also changed out the DC offset variable resistors of both channels. And when I did that and I set everything back up, everything was good. It was all about that one little variable resistor causing this thing to try to burn the house down. One of the two neon lamps that sit at the front of the Citation 16 that indicate the channel A and channel B power, one of those were burned out. Just like with the variable resistor I talked about, there's not a direct replacement for it. So in this case, I had a neon lamp, and I had to just had to add a resistor to a neon lamp. I installed it and it worked fine. The parts are out there to get these units operating, not just this one, but any vintage equipment. But a lot of times you have to come up with your own solution. The solution is out there. You can't call Harman Kardon up and say, well, send me a neon lamp, just like you couldn't that variable resistor that was needed. I cleaned up the chassis. Again, there's always a lot of cleaning with these units. As you guys know, all of them need some cleaning, whether it was the faceplate or cleaning the knobs up. I did that. I'm going to get all of those old electrolytic capacitors and bipolar capacitors replaced in this unit. Like so many power amplifiers, the Citation 16 is pretty easy to work on. It's heavier than a preamplifier or a tuner or some equipment would be, but there's a lot of room in it, and so all of the boards I was able to get to the driver boards quite easily and do all the work I had to do, as well as getting to the LED boards that sit at the front of the unit. Those were all easy to get at also. So I really didn't have any issues with that. There's not that many components to change out in a power amplifier as you would in a big receiver. So I went ahead and did that work, and that's all set. I'm going to reseat the power transistors in my Citation 16. Some people say, why are you doing that? There's no need to do that. Thermal compound does not last forever. For about an hour's worth of labor, about $3 for some new mica insulators and some new thermal compound. After 45 years, it's more than worth it to me. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I've finished up reseating the power transistors, and I've reassembled the Citation 16. And now I'll put it up on the test bench and just give it a general listen. Then if all is well, it'll be time to put it up on the test bench and go ahead and run some power and distortion tests on it. This Citation 16 is rated at 150 watts per channel into 8 ohms, and it easily did that at any frequency from 20 hertz to 20,000. With a 1 kilohertz sine wave, this amplifier was able to put out almost 200 watts per channel at its rated distortion. With 4 ohm load resistors hooked to the Citation 16. It was able to produce almost 240 watts per channel. Here it is 45 years later, and this amplifier can easily meet the specifications that it was designed for, but not only that, easily beat the specifications that it was designed for. And that's what you get with vintage equipment. You get quality. Doesn't matter if it's made in America or made in Japan or made in Norway, where it's made. Back in the 70s, audio equipment was made to last, and this amplifier is a great example of that. Now it's time to do what the Citation 16 was made to do, and that's to make music. I tell you, it's a great amplifier. Harman Kardon doesn't get as much respect in the vintage world as some other brands, and probably one of the best value amplifiers you can find in the vintage market right now. They don't have a strong following, so they're not quite as expensive, but this is an amplifier that has a lot of dynamics, a lot of punch. It has a very nice open sound. You don't have to run it wide open. It's always a pleasure to hook it up. It goes well with all of my equipment. A big, heavy, well-built power amplifier from the middle 1970s, and I highly recommend it. If you ever come upon one, these pieces of equipment need to be serviced. They need to be looked at. They need to be up on a test bench, and then they'll give you service probably for the rest of your lives. It's an ideal amp for hard to drive or low efficiency speakers, but this is one of those amplifiers that don't overlook it. And I feel fortunate that I have it in my collection. I hope that you enjoyed my Harman Kardon Citation 16 repair, restoration, and testing video. If you did, please leave me a big thumbs up down below. And if you're not presently a subscriber and you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more like it, please subscribe. And what I say every time to my present subscribers, the only thing I can say is thank you so much. You all have a good day.